That is the Talking Points memo. Now for the top story tonight, a Justice Department memo dated May 30th, 2005 lays out the entire interrogation controversy in stark terms. Memo was written by Deputy Assistant Attorney General Stephen Bradbury to the Senior Deputy Counsel of the CIA, John Rizzo. Joining us now from Washington to analyze, former chief speechwriter for President Bush, Mark Thiessen. Here is the memo. I have in my hand the memo. And it is pages, 20 pages, I guess. Very complicated, a lot of it redacted, a lot of things in here that I don't understand. You wrote a piece about it for the Washington Post. What's the headline of this memo?
Well, there's two headlines. The first one is the interrogations worked. If you read through that memo, it goes through pages and pages of information about the techniques that were used and how the legal limits of how that were put on the interrogations. And then it gets to a point in that May 30th, 2005 memo where it starts to describe what the program achieved. And it tells us that the intelligence community believes that it would not have gotten the intelligence it needed to stop another attack without the enhanced interrogations. It describes how Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, when he was being questioned before the techniques were used and was asked about imminent attacks, he said, "Soon you'll find out." You know, he meant that we were going to find out when we had another hole in the ground like the one in New York.
So he was defiant, Mohammed, and he said, look, you're going to get hit again. And then it was only after they couldn't break these guys. It was bin al-Shib, Sheikh Mohammed, and
al-Nashri.
Al-Masri. Okay. So they use these techniques, and Abu Zubaydah. So they use these techniques after these guys wouldn't give it up. And then why did the Justice Department, though, write this memo to the CIA? What was the point of all that?
Well, the point of the memo was to create set the legal standards by which they could question them, what they could do and what they couldn't do with the enhanced techniques. And once those techniques were used, Khalid Sheikh Mohammed started giving up information. And one of the pieces of information he gave us is something called the West Coast plot, which was the second wave. The original plan for 9/11 was to have an attack at the same time on the West Coast and the East Coast plot, at the same time on the West and East Coast. And Osama bin Laden at the last minute called off the West Coast portion and just focused on the East Coast. There was going to be a follow-up. They had decided to have a cell of 17 Southeast Asian terrorists because they knew we'd be looking for Arab men. So the interrogation of Khalid Sheikh Mohammed led to the capture of what was called the Garaba cell, which was a cell that was going to hijack a plane and fly it into the Library Tower in Los Angeles. Without this program, a hole in the ground in Los Angeles to match the one in downtown Manhattan.
All right, so this memo written in 2005 chronicled the whole thing. What happened immediately after 9/11, what information they got, how they got the information. But why would they send the memo? This is what I don't understand. Why would they send this to the CIA 4 years later? Why?
Well, because they were adjusting the techniques as they go. There were questions about how you could use them in combination.
Okay, so this memo was to be used from 2005 onward. This was guidance for the CIA onward.
This is exactly right.
Okay, now I got it. No, wait, don't. Just let me ask my dopey questions, because don't go too fast for me. You know how I am. All right, so we're up now from 2001 after 9/11 to 2005. We've stabilized the situation with the United States in the sense that there wasn't another attack. Now the CIA says, look, going forward, what can we do? They send them this 20-page missive that you've seen. Cheney now, this week, comes on Fox News and says, hey, the Obama administration put out what we did, the waterboarding and the cold rooms and the other things, but they didn't put out, and they could have, what we learned. Now, that got a lot of people, including me, a little upset because it's not fair. What do you think about that?
Right. That's exactly right. Well, they described that Garaba cell that I told you about, and then when you turn the page in the memos that they have, where they're continuing to describe what was achieved, this is what shows up, completely blacked out. So what's behind this blacked out section is details of the attacks that were stopped. So the Obama administration gives up all the information, all the secrets as to how we question terrorists, sends them to the enemy in effect, so that they can train against those techniques and withhold information. But when the American people want to hear, well, these are rough techniques, what did they achieve? They black it out. And there are other things in there. There's referenced something called an effectiveness memo. That wasn't released either, and so we need to get that information out as well.
I agree. I think if we're going to have the debate, we should have fairness in it. Mr. Thiessen, thanks very much.